I'm Rolene Marks. Welcome to Modiin and Beyond. Join me every Sunday between 3 and 4 on Radio Modiin as we take a look at what's happening in Modiin, Israel, and beyond. I'm Rolene Marks. Welcome to Modiin and Beyond on Radio Modiin, where we promise to take a look at what's happening in Modiin, in Israel, in surrounds. And of course, we bring you the best music. And as you can see, I'm not alone in studio today. So coming up on the show, we have Modiin's very own, the Night Callers. They will be singing, there will be keyboard playing. I can't promise to behave myself. Also coming up on today's show, we have Anne Herzberg from NGO Monitor. We're going to be talking about the United Nations Human Rights Council's Commission of Inquiry. Enough to raise all our blood pressure, I think. And then we will check in with our favorite entertainment correspondent, Yael Kinar. We're going to be talking Giselle and Tom, Madonna, and Spares. So what am I talking about? Stay tuned for all the entertainment coming up on today's show and the best music. But we're going to start with these guys, Bob and Larry, the Night Callers. Welcome to Modiin and Beyond. Now tell us a little bit about yourselves. You're homegrown, you're a Modiin band. How did you get started?
We got started in 2018. And it started, it was Bradley Burston. A lot of people, a lot of Anglos here might remember, might know him, be familiar. It started me and Bradley. I was singing, he was playing guitar, sounded all right. Bob, who I was friends with Bob from before, mentioned in passing once, or his wife actually mentioned in passing, that he actually wanted to be a rock and roll player before he became a rabbi. So I remembered that, and I asked him, you want to play piano, you want to play keyboards in the band? He said, yeah. Then we got another guy who maybe a lot of Anglos know, David Brin, who is the managing editor of the Jerusalem Post, also their rock and roll critic. He started playing drums, and there's been a lot of, personnel changes. But right now we've got 5 people in the band. 3 of us are from Modiin, 1 from Har Adar.
And a Jerusalemite.
Right.
The sole Brit in the group.
Right.
There's always one of
Yes,
these.
yes. It's interesting. We started off as an all-American group, all of us veteran Olim from the States, and we have now emerged to being 2 Americans, 1 Brit, and 2 Israelis. We've been integrated.
Well, if that doesn't sort out what is Modiin or show you what is Modiin, then I don't know what is. But the name Night Callers, where did that come from? And what are your musical influences?
All right. The Night Callers, we're just kicking around a lot of ideas. I wanted something that kind of, we start off, we still do a lot of older stuff, from the 60s and 70s. And I wanted something, and the word night was in a lot of those old band names, and I wanted something that just evoked the image of night. Night this, night that, night what? I think about the only word that comes after night that wasn't used in somebody's band was callers, night callers.
Curiously, and not surprisingly, we're playing the music that we grew up on.
Yeah.
The hits of the 60s and 70s, from the big bands like the Beatles and the Stones and the Animals and Van Morrison, and also from the one-hit wonders. We're a big fan of one-hit wonders, things that went up the charts from bands you never heard of and never heard of afterwards, but they were big hits at the time. We're memorializing them.
So solid gold classic.
100%.
Timeless, ageless, any time of the night and day. Everybody's going to recognize
They should.
And get up and dance.
Yes.
So I tell you what, a lot of the songs everybody's going to recognize. A lot of the songs, not everybody's going to recognize, but they're going to say, "Hey, I haven't heard that. Wow, that's all right." Or they'll remember it from way back.
Right. And they're going to be impressed with the musicianship, and so they'll say, "Even if I didn't know it then, boy, that really sounds great today."
Well, we like to promise you the best music here on Modiin and beyond, and we've set up a impromptu stage over here for the guys. So, guys, I'm going to hand it over to you. Can you spiel us a little something on the keyboard?
This is a big surprise to us.
It's a big
We got
surprise
we got
to me
roped
too.
into
But
this.
what
But
can
the
I
money
say?
was right, so we're doing it.
We're spontaneous here.
This was a hit, a one-hit wonder from 1967 by the Soul Survivors, a Philadelphia group. Some of you may remember it.
I've been trying to get to you for a long time, 'cause constantly you've been on my mind. I was thinking about a shortcut I could take, but it seemed like I made a mistake. I was wrong, baby, it took too long. I got caught in the rush hour. Fella started to shower you with love and affection. I won't look in my direction on the expressway to your heart. That expressway, that's the best way. At 5 o'clock, much too crowded, but too crowded, so crowded, no room for me. Much too crowded, too crowded, oh, now it's too many ahead of me. They all trying to get in front of me. I thought I'd find a road ahead, but I found that light instead. I was wrong, baby, it took too long. I got caught in the rush hour. Fella started to shower you with love and affection. Come on, look in my direction on the expressway to your heart. That expressway, that's the best way. That expressway, that's the best way. Of that expressway, that's the best way. Yeah.
Yay!
Right.
Thank you, guys.
Right.
We're already getting messages in from people who want to know:
Yeah.
do we do any original music, any original song choices?
We've had some original music that we performed. We're really trying to stay within the lane of that rock and soul, good time feeling, get on your feet and dance music. So, and there's so much that was produced in that time.
Yeah, my wife Philippa, she calls us. She just described it. We're a good time band. I think that's the best description that I've heard.
And
even
if
if
we
it
want
isn't,
to-
my wife says so. I gotta say it.
Listen, the wives always
Really?
know best,
Really?
guys.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, we don't argue with the wives. I mean, that's what I tell my husband
At least, yeah.
at the very least. So, if we want a rocking good time in Modiin, where are we going to catch you?
So we're trying to get ourselves known, trying to get ourselves out at bars. Obviously, Corona was a big problem in trying to appear. So we're now, all of the bars are sort of rebuilding, and we'd love to get invitations. We just want to play.
We played at the Gypsy
We
in
play-
Modiin at Shilat, and we played at the late lamented Alexander Beer Garden in Modiin. Most of the places we played are Tel Aviv and Jerusalem.
Well, it's good. So, you're nationwide.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that's it.
international.
Guys, let me
Yeah.
plug you
International.
here. Well, you
Yeah.
never know. You don't know who listens to Modiin and
Really?
beyond here. We do have international listeners. Can I put you on the spot and ask you for another song? We do have one queued up if you would prefer that, but if you want to go spontaneous, we like to jam here in the studio.
We'll take the one that's queued up. That's
Yeah.
really, that shows the band.
Right.
So here are the night callers in action. Our engineer is behind the scenes, queuing it up so that you guys don't miss a beat. And here we go.
I'm gonna tell you how it's gonna be. You're gonna give your love to me. I'm gonna love you night and day. said love will not fade away. I said love will not fade away. My love is bigger than a Cadillac. I got to show you when you're driving me back. Girl, for me, you got to be real. For you to know just how I feel. I said the love will not fade away. Said the love will not fade away. Be. You're gonna give your love to me. Love like more than one day. And love will not fade away. And love will not fade away. And love will not fade away.
Well, if you don't know that one, you haven't lived.
Really?
The Rolling Stones.
Yes, yes.
I mean, how old is that song?
I think that was on their first album in 1964.
And
It's
everybody
originally-
knows that.
It's originally done by Buddy Holly from probably 57, 58, something
Yes.
like that. Yeah.
So absolute evergreens.
A wonderful. Yes, 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 yes. Good music never dies.
Absolutely. So what are your most requested songs? What does the audience love? I saw somebody really cutting a rug there with great enthusiasm.
Well, our single best video, I think, is She Drives Me Crazy.
She Drives Me- yes.
The
Yes.
Fine Young
The
Cannibals.
Fine Young Cannibals. Yes.
Ah, there we go. There we go.
So we have moved into the 1980s as well. We're not stuck only in the distant past. We're in the relatively distant past also.
Well, listen, guys, if you're going to go into the 80s, you're going to have to come with some 80s hairdos.
We're very happy that we have hair to do with.
Yeah, we'll take anything.
So if somebody wants to book you, how do they go about doing that?
We have a page on Facebook with all sorts of with our contact information. We have a channel on YouTube that one can subscribe to. It's a free subscription. We're slowly building up our fan base here in the country. Obviously, based in Modiin, with a lot of people in Jerusalem where we've been playing, and we're happy to play wherever and whenever,
Pimp yourselves
except for
out.
Shabbos.
Pimp yourselves out. What are those Facebook address sites? What is that YouTube channel called? Tell our listeners.
Well, the YouTube channel is it's the Night Callers.
The Night
The
Callers.
Night Callers, yeah. There's another band, I think some other band that was around for a little while called the Night Callers, but
We're doing it
listen
in
to our
we
The Night
yes.
Callers, okay?
Ours is the Night Callers, capital N, capital C, one word. It's a little bit of
Yeah.
of a-
And the same thing on Facebook. The Night Callers, one word, capital C in the middle.
Let's see if we can get that on camera so that people can see. I don't think we can zoom in close enough. So you've got the wolf as your.
as our
as your
symbol.
logo.
Yes.
The Howlin' Wolf, yeah.
Come on, guys. If you're listening right now, go onto your Facebook page, The Night Callers. You'll see it's got a wolf howling. We've just heard from Howlin' Larry over here. Give it a like. If you are on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. This is what we want to do. We want to promote Modiin's own homegrown talent that brings us the best music. I want to say thank you to Bob and to Larry for joining me in the studio. And we're going to take a short music break. On the other side of this, we've got Anne Herzberg from NGO Monitor. We're going to be talking about the Commission of Inquiry. What's that all about? I hear you say. I mean, I know just the very mention of the two words United Nations is enough to raise everybody's blood pressure, but we've got to talk about what's going on in the world and how it affects us here in Israel. I'm Rolene Marks. This is Modiin and Beyond. on Radio Modiin, and she drives me crazy. You guys wanted it. Here it is.
You want me on video? Oh, you want me on video? Then I'm gonna switch to my computer rather than my phone. Okay.
Fine Young Cannibals, she drives me crazy. You're tuned to Radio Modiin. I am Rolene Marks. This is Modiin and Beyond. Now, if you want to be featured on Modiin and Beyond, promote your business here in Modiin, or just want to join in the conversation, you can WhatsApp me at 052-582-9090. That's 052-582-9090. Hit me up with a comment or some feedback, and let's get Modiin talking. As we say, Toshavim Medabrim, they do it right here on Radio Modiin. And also speaking is a good friend of Modiin and Beyond. We've had her on a few weeks ago, and Herzberg from NGO Monitor. She's the legal counsel for NGO Monitor. This is an NGO that monitors the financing, the mandates of different NGOs, especially those targeted at attacking Israel in some way or form. And Anne is very, very active representing the state of Israel and speaking on our behalf at probably what is the most hostile battlefield in the world, and that is the United Nations. Now, I know for many of us, just the mention of the United Nations is enough to drive up our blood pressure and get us really, really angry. And with good reason. It has become an institution that has been captured by anti-Semites. And here to discuss the latest issue at the UN, especially at the UN Human Rights Council, is Anne Herzberg. And welcome to Modiin and Beyond.
Hi, how are you?
Always good to talk to you. Now, last week, the UNHRC Commission of Inquiry presented their report accusing Israel of, amongst many things, war crimes against the Palestinians to the United Nations General Assembly. Give us a little bit of background. Who is this commission?
Yes, so the commission was impaneled in May 2021 by the Human Rights Council in the wake of the fighting that was taking place then. But what made this commission unique, as opposed to several other commissions that had been established by the Human Rights Council on Israel prior to this, and it should be noted they've had 9, this is the 9th commission on Israel, more than any other country by several factors. This commission was intended to be permanent, which is unusual, and it was specifically intended to gather evidence for the International Criminal Court and to promote BDS. And also, many of the recommendations made in the resolution establishing the commission actually came from Human Rights Watch's apartheid report. So the clear intention of this commission was to find Israel guilty of apartheid and then to hand over names to the International Criminal Court so that Israelis can be prosecuted, and also to create a BDS list so that they can boycott and divest from companies in Israel and companies doing business with Israel. And like other commissions on Israel, the people making these decisions deliberately chose people with prejudicial records regarding Israel. And so we had 3 commissioners chosen. Navi Pillay, who was the former High Commissioner for Human Rights and had presided over the Durban II conference in 2009, in which Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad was given a prominent speaking position. Maloon Kuthari, who was a special rapporteur in the UN system, previously had made egregious claims against Israel and had even lied in order to get into Israel regarding one of his reports. And the third person, Chris Sidoti, who's an Australian, he also had a prejudicial record doing a lot with the Palestinian Authority's quasi-human rights institution.
Let's
So
talk about these
had,
3 commissioners. Sorry to interrupt you, because
no worries.
Because they have taken criticism from countries like the United Kingdom, the United States, Canada, Australia, and various others for having an anti-Semitic agenda. In fact, I think some of the countries actually asked for the Commission of Inquiry to be disbanded. Let's take an in-depth look at exactly who these commissioners are, because I think it sets the stage for who is tasked with investigating or these kind of sham commissions of inquiry.
Yeah, exactly. So Navi Pillay, who is the former High Commissioner, is a South African. She had made many comments in the past calling Israel apartheid, promoting BDS. Maloon Kuthari, as I mentioned, had previously, even dating back to the early 2000s, during the height of the Intifada, made egregious comments about Israel. And the same with Chris Sidoti, who is closely aligned with an institution tied to the Palestinian Authority, as well as an NGO in Australia that makes egregious comments about Israel. So they all had extensive prejudicial records prior to taking on the job. And in fact, that's why they were appointed. And officials within the Human Rights Council framework have never responded to demands to explain how these people were chosen. So that's completely secret. The person who made these appointments is actually now a senior official at the Office of the Prosecutor at the International Criminal Court. So that just gives you an example of how these institutions overlap and the extreme lack of transparency going on here. Now, yeah, go ahead.
Not to sound like a little bit conspiracy theorist, but when we look at this, to me, it looks like pictures of a puzzle that have been deliberately sort of formed to form a bigger picture here. Or am I being a little bit paranoid?
No, I mean, I think it's deliberate. It's definitely calculated. The bureaucracy of the Human Rights Council plus powerful NGOs like Amnesty and Human Rights Watch closely work together alongside with the Organization for Islamic Cooperation and the Palestinians to craft a strategy, and it is deliberate because, for instance, in 2013, I've seen records from a conference that took place with the PLO, several UN officials, and NGO officials, and they laid out this strategy. It's clearly laid out. It's not hidden. This was dated back to 2013, and they've been following the strategy to its T. So it's definitely not hidden. They know exactly what they're doing. And I think the shocking part is that the UN officials continue to pretend that this isn't happening. That to me is the shocking part, that they gaslight us and make statements with a straight face that this isn't going on when it obviously is what is going on.
And
I think that, yeah.
It's extraordinary. We have three commissioners. The one, Milun Kotari, accusing us of the Jewish lobby controlling social media while speaking to a virulently anti-Israel platform. Navi Pillay signing a petition supporting BDS, which we know calls for the destruction of Israel. And Sadoti throwing around accusations saying that we use the word anti-Semitism, like throwing around, what did he say, confetti?
Right. At a wedding.
At a wedding.
Yeah.
And the UN doesn't see anything anti-Semitic about this?
Yeah, it's insane. I think I was the only Israeli when the commissioner in Geneva at the Human Rights Council, when the commission presented their first report. And I was shocked by Sadoti's remarks about racism at the wedding. That was probably one of the worst things I've ever heard at the Human Rights Council, and I've heard a lot of crazy stuff there. And then in the summer, in July, when Kuthari to the Mondo Weiss podcast made these claims about the Jewish lobby, outrageous claims, Navi Pillay lied and claimed his remarks were taken out of context, which even Milun Kuthari admitted were accurate. So she had tried to gaslight all of us that they didn't even take place, and no consequences occurred, even though dozens of states and officials condemned their remarks, and they continue to operate as if nothing happened. And then to compound this, and when they presented the report last week, what did Pillay do? She gaslit us again. She didn't mention the anti-Semitism, and rather than responding to these charges and explaining, if she was a legitimate inquiry, they would have explained, well, we apologize for these remarks. We've taken steps to make sure they don't happen again. This isn't biased, and this is why. She doubled down on it and then cried that she was the victim.
Didn't she say something like she's never been called an anti-Semite in all her 81 years on the planet?
Yeah. And she pretended like nothing had happened. She lied and said the president of the Human Rights Council had taken measures regarding what had happened, and that's totally false. He didn't do anything. He made a statement condemning it, but he didn't take any measures against them. They haven't had to do it. They haven't had to. Kuthari is still on the commission. They didn't have to be transparent in their operating methods, and how they put together this new report. They didn't make any. They've continued to meet with the same anti-Israel actors. They haven't met, as far as I know, with one person who has favorable views towards Israel. It's a complete sham. And then for her to get last week about what is going on there, she just cried victim. It was really astounding.
Now, if governments are calling out the United Nations, and there's heavy criticism, especially coming from heavy hitters like Germany, Austria, Australia, the United Kingdom, and the United States, why is the United Nations not paying attention to this? I'd like to sit Antonio Guterres and ask him a few questions about this.
Yeah, it's just typical business as usual at the UN. The officials talk a good game, but they do nothing. Many of the officials share these ideological views, so that's one big part of the problem. Most of them are hostile towards Israel, so they have no problem with what's going on there. They don't care that they're not even following their own rules that they set. Who even knows who's paying the bills for some of these things? I mean, Qatar bought and paid for a new room at the building in Geneva, the Office of the High Commissioner in Geneva, the Human Rights Council. So it's highly likely, they want to curry favor with these countries, also with China, that are paying for things at the UN. They claim it's about justice and human rights and standards, but yet they are willing to throw all of these things away.
Now, dare I ask?
And they never give a good explanation as to why this is acceptable.
Dare I ask, what does the report say?
So the report is ridiculous. And it's, unsurprisingly, the main claim in the report is, and what's interesting too is back in June, they said the report was going to be a review of UN resolutions, and they scrapped that idea, and I'm not sure why, possibly because they met with officials from the ICC, and the ICC is telling them what to write. I really don't know. That's something that I think they should answer. Why did they change what they said they were going to write about? But essentially, they've taken this crank theory that's been posited by a couple of fringe academics, that because Israel has been in control of the West Bank and East Jerusalem, and also in their words, Gaza and the Golan Heights for so long, that it has become illegal occupation and a de facto annexation. And therefore, everything Israel is doing is illegal. And the aim of Israel is simply to control the Palestinians and steal land from them and repress them. So this is the claims in the report. There's egregious erasure of history in the report. You would think that the conflict began in June 8th, 1967. And all, the wars, rejection of the partition plan, the Oslo Accords, the peace offers in 2000 and 2007, all of these things are completely erased in the report to craft this narrative of Israeli venality.
Now, what has Israel's response been?
So Israel, Gilad Erdan, who was the UN ambassador, gave a speech at the meeting, but that was only for a few minutes. Israel does not have relations with the Human Rights Council or the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, because this is just one in a series of targeting Israel and political warfare against Israel. So I think Israel's best response is to continue to garner support from democracies. Obviously, the Human Rights Council is dominated by dictatorships and authoritarian regimes. So the best thing they can do is to garner support from all the democracies. And I mean, the best thing that they can do is also to get all of these countries to withhold funding, not only to speak out about this every opportunity it comes up in debates, but also to withhold funding from the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights. If they're going to abuse and exploit taxpayer money for this type of stuff, then they don't deserve the money.
It seems,
and I think that's the number one thing they can do. It
seems that the message is human rights for all, but not for Israel.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not even, it's just they completely forget all of their principles when it comes to Israel. complete double standards. It's all politics. And many officials have even admitted it. Kofi Annan, who was the former Secretary General of the UN, admitted it. The entire the original Human Rights Council, which was called the Commission on Human Rights, was disbanded in 2005 because of anti-Israel animus. And instead, they create this Human Rights Council that's almost as bad, if not worse, than the original commission. And I think the other actors that really need to be called out here are the Europeans, because the Europeans continue to give the most money to this institution. And even when they speak out against it, once it's enacted and operating, they just let it continue. They have this crazy standard that once something is in place, they're not allowed to criticize it or defund it, even though it's completely operating at odds with their policies. So I do think the Europeans need to get special condemnation for allowing this to happen.
It's absolutely extraordinary. The mind boggles. It's like watching a bad farce, only it affects our daily lives. And Herzberg from NGO Monitor, I want to thank you so much for coming on Modiin and Beyond today. The work that you do is absolutely invaluable. And where would we be without people like you? And I'm sure we're going to have you on again.
Thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to doing it soon.
Us too. We're going to take a short music break. Coming up after the break, we want to know, will you be buying Spare, and what is going on with Madonna?
It's there. מה יהיה? מתי כבר נמכור את הבית?
אתם צריכים תיווך עם לב.
כשמוכרים דירה עם לב.
אז ביום ראשון יש לך הופעה בשלט ליד הקניון, עולים בשעה 9 לדיגיטל וסיום מעריצים בין 4 ל-6.
עם מי את מדברת?
עם הדירה שלך. יש לך פה כוכבת.
באמת? אפשר סלפי?
כשמוכרים דירה בלי לב.
אני לא מבין למה אף אחד לא מגיע, לא פרסמת את המודעה?
אני אמרת שאתה מפרסם.
אמרתי שאני מחרסם, הייתי באמצע הגזר.
כשמוכרים דירה עם לב.
אז מה אתה מחפש בדירה? אתה טיפוס שמתחייב? הבנתי, אז אין לך אישור עקרוני למשכנתה. טוב, היה נעים להכיר, אבל עם הלב הזה לא משחקים.
כשמוכרים דירה בלי לב.
אז מה אתה מחפש בדירה? מעולה, גם אני אוהב קירות. יאללה, בוא נתקדם.
כשמוכרים דירה בלי לב.
מצאתי לנו קונה.
די, באיזה מחיר?
ממש טיפ-טיפה מתחת למחיר, שנמצא מתחת לקו השחור, שמתחת לקו האדום של המחיר שאמרנו שלא נרד ממנו לעולם.
כשמוכרים דירה עם לב.
מזל טוב, הדירה שלכם נמכרה במחיר...
אבל זה מעל הקו הירוק, שמעל הקו הכחול של המחיר המקסימלי שחשבנו עליו.
את הבית מוכרים רק בבלעדיות עם לב הנדל"ן. תתרגלו להגיד נמכר. בהנהלת קרמית בירנבאום.
שלטק מודיעין הוא מתחם עבודה שיתופי ליזמים וחברות. בשלטק תמצאו עמדות עבודה אישיות, משרדים סגורים, חדרי ישיבות מרווחים, מרחבי הדרכה משודרגים. בקיצור, כל מה שעסק בצמיחה צריך. שלטק, עסקים שגדלים יחד.
מחפשים חוויה משפחתית שוברת שגרה? דייט מוצלח ורומנטי? חוות צהלה מזמינה אתכם לרכיבת שטח חווייתית במיוחד. בתוך הנוף עוצר הנשימה של עמק איילון. חוות צהלה, תתכוננו להתאהב. לפרטים 055-662-6773.
טרייד סטיישן, אפליקציית המסחר זוכת הפרסים. לסחור רק עם הטוב ביותר. אליט פלטפורמס, המקבצה הפיננסית שלכם. רדיו מודיעין,
רדיו מודיעין, התושבים מדברים. Radio Modiin. This is Modiin and Beyond with me, Rolene Marks, and joining me is our entertainment guru, the fabulous Yael Kinar. Welcome again.
Thank you.
I have to ask you, another one bites the dust. What happened to Tom and Giselle?
Well, you know what? 13 years in Hollywood is the equivalent of 50 anywhere else. So, kol hakavod to them. They gave it a fair effort, and they really were a super power couple, each in their own individual right. Married for 13 years. They have 2 children. They came into the relationship each as a big success in their own fields. She is a Brazilian supermodel, and Tom Brady is an NFL player who participated in 7 Super Bowls. They're both multimillionaires. I believe her net worth is $400 million pre-Tom. So this wasn't a case of anyone getting together for money. It really was love. But it must be hard to run a household with that much pressure. Tom had announced his retirement from playing sports this past year and then unretired himself. He said he was going to spend more time with his family. And then a month later, he said, I want to go back and play. So I don't know what that means, but I wish them both the best. And I have a feeling neither of them will be single for long.
That kind of language is fighting talk to a wife, that you unretire yourself. You know, you could take it personally when your husband does that, but they amassed some mega wealth between the two of them. Now, what happens in a case like this where, you know, you're not fighting over the vase or the dog, you're fighting over a mega property portfolio?
So the truth is they have prepped us emotionally, us being the masses, with leaking this story over the last few months. And by the time the divorce was announced on Friday. It appears that most of the financials have been agreed upon, and this doesn't seem to be going in the direction of a long drawn out divorce with fights over the many various properties that they own and the vast money that they have. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a prenup in place before. And this was more a case of each wanting to go in their own way. Giselle was very supportive of him for many years, showing up at all the games with the kids. The last few months, she was absent. She wasn't there. And though she's no longer going to be on the covers of magazines, probably, because for supermodels, being 42 is positively geriatric. So, but she is a major businesswoman, and she was going to start to focus again more on her career. And I think they'll be okay. They'll co-parent. They will each get their McMansion in Florida and see the kids. And I'm okay with it.
You know what I'm not emotionally prepared for is Madonna.
Oh, shame, as you say in South Africanese. Yeah, our Madonna, you know what? Her music lives on. No one can take that away from her. But at 64, it seems that she still wants the attention and the fame that she had in her youth. And she's been posting very provocative Instagram, topless, various indiscreet positions, which the truth is she always did. That was her thing all along. That was the Madonna brand. Somehow it doesn't seem as revolutionary and fresh and exciting now. It seems a little sad.
It seems a little ick and a little desperate. You know, I'm all for women's empowerment and, you know, rock your body. But I think, you know, you get to a certain point where, you know, it's just uncomfortable to see.
I also don't think she needs it. Like the extra likes and the extra clicks. Madonna's Madonna. Her music's being played at every party / bat mitzvah for all eternity. And that stands, the music stands the test of time. Maybe the body doesn't stand the test of time to the same extent. She looks great, but I feel like less would be more.
I feel like less filler would be more, because I'm really concerned that if she puts anything more in that face, that something drastic is going to happen. But
it hasn't benefited her. It's not like, oh, she looks even better with all the work she's had. It's like, it just looks like she's had a lot of work.
But you know what I am bracing for? I'm bracing for the impact of Spare. Such a provocative title. You know, you're not going to get away without talking about the former royals now living in Montecito, making oodles of cash out of the royal family. But wow, talk about provocative.
Absolutely. So Prince Harry named his autobiography Spare as a direct reference to what he felt was a derogatory way of categorizing him and his brother William, with the heir and the spare. So I think he could have named it Extra, because he's just being so extra dramatic.
So extra. But his mother was the one who used to call him Spare. This is the great irony. But are we not bored with Harry and his wife's constant attacks at the royal family? Are we not just?
And it's also so counterintuitive. They said they would like less attention. They would like to live their life in private. They want to be removed from the frenzy of London, and they would like to live a private, quiet life in LA. And ever since then, they've been banging on the doors of any press that would come their way, with Netflix deals, the podcast to end all podcasts. I can't even begin with Meghan and her archetypes. And now this book, which he's already been paid an advance fee of $20 million for. They're certainly not lacking in income, but they really want to get their version of the story out. I think it's going to come back to bite them. I don't think it will do him any favors. The Queen has just passed. There's a lot of pro-royal sentiment. The funeral was so elegant, and not that funerals need to be elegant, but there's so much pomp and circumstance. The coronation is coming up. And now this book again. Oh, things were so hard. Poor me. I'm the spare. I don't know. I'm sure it'll make money, and I'm sure people will buy it and quote it, and that it'll get extra press, but I'm not going to read it.
Yeah, nothing that says I really want my privacy, like releasing a tell-all autobiography, especially in between the death of your late grandmother and the coronation of your father. I mean, it's from what I'm seeing in the media, and including the US media, is that people are over them already. Go live a quiet life in Montecito and ride bicycles and just, you know, it's enough.
Also, we all have family dynamics. Sibling rivalry is a thing. We're familiar. You're not the only one. You're very privileged. You were spare number 2 to be the king of England, which allowed you to do anything you wanted, any which way. I mean, to some extent, there are limitations because he was royal and all eyes were on him. But it's hard to get the boo-hoo factor going when he's living the life he's living.
Yeah, nothing says I really, really feel your pain, Harry. In the middle of a cost of living crisis, with somebody who's the spare to a massive fortune. I say spare me the complaining and the whinging and the whining. I think it was called spare because wine was already taken. I don't know.
I know you and I share that opinion, but I think he's trying to strike while the iron's still hot. I don't know if anyone would care in a decade. So they're trying to rake it in as much as possible during these first years after their exit. But as I said, I don't think it's gaining him any favors.
Well, you and I will certainly be talking about this and all the other juicy entertainment, gossip, and royal tidbits. Why? Because we like to, and you like it too.
Absolutely.
Thank you to our entertainment guru, Yael Kinar, who always brings the fun, the goss right off the hot presses and onto Radio Modiin and beyond. I'm Rolene Marks. I want to say a huge thank you to our guests, the night callers, and Herzberg of NGO Monitor, and the fabulous entertainment guru that is Yael Kinar. And a huge thank you to Pe'er Atias. He's behind the scenes, making sure that I keep to my time and generally behave myself. Don't forget to tune in next Sunday at 3 o'clock. Meanwhile, we're going to party on out of here. I'm Rolene Marks. This has been Modiin and beyond.